Have you ever had the strange feeling that your future is already happening, and somehow you're late for it, like you're not chasing a dream, but being quietly pulled by something that already knows where you're meant to go? They told you the future is something to be built one brick at a time, that you have to hustle harder, think smarter, force your way into becoming, that you are here to fight for your destiny. That clarity comes from doing more, pushing more, proving more. But what if everything you've been taught about time was backwards? What if the version of you who's already healed, already aligned, already whole, isn't waiting for you out there? She's calling you back to her now, not as a goal, but as a frequency. Imagine this, a golden thread, thin and steady, tugging at your chest, not pulling you forward in time, but inward, deeper into yourself, into who you already are, beneath the noise, into a version of you that remembers. A version that whispers, not shouts. Joe Dispenza teaches that your future already exists in the quantum field. You don't need to invent it. You don't even need to fight for it. You only need to tune your frequency to match it. And when you do, things begin to rearrange. Possibilities collapse into clarity. Synchronicities multiply, and a quiet knowing settles in your body like warm light. This isn't just theory. It's what mystics called the higher self. What quantum physics now calls coherence. What your nervous system recognizes as safety long before your mind finds the words. But even knowing this, many of us still resist the call. We stay stuck in outdated versions of ourselves, trying to fix what no longer needs fixing. We numb the discomfort instead of decoding it. We think it's anxiety, but it's actually misalignment. We think we're lost, but we're actually being redirected. And we delay. We wait for logic to give us permission. We wait for the perfect sign. We wait while our future self is already holding out her hand, asking, "Are you ready now?" This video is for the part of you that already knows the answer. We're going to explore the subtle signs that your future self is already reaching for you, and why that restless energy you've been feeling isn't anxiety. It's a signal. You'll learn how to recognize the patterns, decode the pull, and cooperate with this invisible guidance to finally become who you were always meant to remember. And if this topic already stirs something in you, if your chest feels a little tighter, or your thoughts a little louder right now, then don't let this moment pass unnoticed. If this resonates with your path, subscribe now and walk this journey with me. Don't postpone the version of you that's already calling. Because what comes next goes far deeper. Now we'll explore why you've been feeling restless for no clear reason, and how it's not a flaw, but a friction between timelines that no longer match who you're becoming. Let's go deeper. Timeline friction. Why you feel restless for no reason. There are moments when nothing feels wrong, yet nothing feels right either. You go through your day, doing what you're supposed to do, but beneath the surface, something hums. A quiet agitation. A subtle disconnection, like your soul is walking a few steps ahead and you're trailing behind, trying to catch up to a rhythm you can't quite hear. This restlessness isn't random. It's the friction between timelines, between who you've been and who you're already becoming. But what if the most powerful truth was hiding where you never thought to look? We've been conditioned to believe that unease means we're doing something wrong. That discomfort is a sign to slow down, retreat, or fix ourselves. But maybe the ache you feel isn't a problem to solve. It's a signal. Let me explain. Every version of you exists on a specific vibrational frequency. The you that's still looping in old routines, carrying emotional weight that no longer fits, and the you that already feels free, aligned, alive. When you start waking up, those two frequencies begin to clash. You may notice it as a strange kind of fatigue. You wake up tired, even if you've rested. You can't find joy in the same places anymore. The people around you feel distant, even if nothing has changed. This is not confusion, this is dissonance. Your nervous system can feel when you're vibrating out of alignment. It sends subtle signals, discomfort, boredom, inattention, long before your mind understands what's happening. It's like wearing a sweater that used to be your favorite, but now it itches. The version of you that once fit perfectly into your old life doesn't fit anymore, but the new version, she's not fully formed yet. And that in-between space is where most people get lost. You've seen it before, you just didn't know how to read it. And here's the truth. The more misaligned you are, the louder the restlessness becomes. That's not a punishment. That's guidance. That tightness in your chest, that resistance to routines, that inner sigh you release when no one's watching, it's all part of the message. Your future self is not just calling you forward. She's making it impossible to stay where you are. Let me give you an example. Think of a song that once made you cry. It used to hit you in all the right places, but now you play it and it feels hollow. The emotion has moved, the resonance has shifted. That's what's happening inside of you. You're not broken, you're just vibrating out of an outdated version of reality, and that restlessness, it's the invitation to move. Pause for a moment. Let your body respond to this. What have you been ignoring lately? What part of your life feels like it's expired, but you've been holding on to it out of habit? Maybe it's a relationship, a role you play, a version of yourself you've outgrown but still perform. This is your moment to name what's real. In the comments, leave one word that defines what you're stepping into now. Just one word. Something that holds the vibration you've been resisting but are finally ready to claim. Maybe it's release, maybe it's clarity, maybe it's momentum. Now let's go deeper. We'll explore now how your future self uses synchronicity, not coincidence, to communicate with you. You'll begin to see how moments that seemed random were actually whispers from a part of you that already knows the path. The whisper of synchronicity. When time loops back, you're walking through your day and a phrase catches your ear. Maybe you hear it again from a stranger, then it shows up in a book, then in a dream. At first you brush it off. Coincidence, right? But then it happens again and again. Different forms, same vibration. That's not coincidence, that's coherence. When the same message starts repeating in your reality, it's not trying to get your attention, it's trying to bring you back into alignment. These are not accidents, they are echoes. Echoes from the version of you that already arrived, calling you back through time. Bruce Lipton teaches that the subconscious mind is not locked in the past. It's connected to fields of probability, constantly scanning for the path of least resistance between you and who you're becoming. That's why you keep circling back to the same signs, the feeling that life is looping, subtly correcting your course. It's real, but not in the way most people think. Let me give you an image. Imagine you're on a boat, drifting slightly off course. At first you don't notice. The wind is soft, the water calm, but a current stronger than you can see keeps gently nudging the boat, turning it, redirecting it back toward a point that's already fixed in space. That fixed point is your aligned timeline. Synchronicity is the current. You don't chase it, you don't force it. You learn to sense its direction and cooperate. But most people miss it because they're looking for fireworks, not whispers. Your future self doesn't yell, she doesn't demand, she nudges. A number keeps appearing, a symbol repeats. You feel drawn to a place, a song, a conversation, and somewhere inside something clicks, but your mind dismisses it. You're just imagining things, it says. But what if you're not? What if this is the language of alignment, and you've just forgotten how to read it? Let me give you a practical lens. You meet someone new and instantly feel like you've known them for years. Or you walk into a space and feel a surge of clarity, or something breaks in your routine, and that break leads you to an entirely new direction you weren't even considering. These are not disruptions, they're invitations. Pause now. Feel into this. What's been repeating in your reality lately? What has life been trying to show you, but you've been too busy, too skeptical, or too afraid to follow? Maybe it's time to stop asking, "Is this real?" and start asking, "What part of me already knows this is true?" Let's make this even simpler. Here's the process. 1. Pay attention to what keeps showing up. 2. Notice how your body responds, not just your mind. 3. Don't rush to explain it. Just notice, just feel, just remember. Because sometimes remembering is more powerful than understanding. Let's go even deeper. We'll explore the moment when your intuition stops asking for permission and starts becoming unshakable. You'll understand why your inner knowing intensifies even when it makes no logical sense, and how to trust it without needing to explain it. Intuitive overdrive. When inner knowing becomes unshakable. There comes a point on the path where logic becomes too small for what you feel. You stop needing proof. You stop asking for signs, because something inside of you has already said yes, and no amount of doubt can override that inner pull. It doesn't make sense, but it doesn't need to. This is when your intuition stops whispering and starts roaring. But what if the very voice you keep ignoring is the part of you that already knows the way? Let me give you an example. You wake up one morning and suddenly, you just know. You know it's time to leave the job. You know it's time to end the relationship. You know it's time to go somewhere new. You can't explain why. It's not a thought, it's not a plan. It's a knowing, alive in your chest. Undeniable, unshakable. This is not impulsiveness. This is internal alignment accelerating. Your future self isn't sending words, she's sending resonance. And when that resonance becomes strong enough, logic tries to catch up, but never quite can. Edgar Cayce called this the soul's magnetic blueprint. A memory encoded in your energy field, pulling you toward the path already chosen at a higher level of self. And that's the paradox. Your intuition is not guessing the future. It's remembering it, remembering what already exists. But the more you try to explain it, the more disconnected you feel, because intuition is not a theory. It's not something to be proven. It's something to be embodied. Here's the truth most people don't want to admit. The more awakened you become, the less you can explain yourself to others. Because your moves no longer come from logic, they come from frequency. Pause for a moment. Breathe. Bring your awareness into your chest, your belly, your body. Where in your life are you feeling a quiet, persistent knowing that you've been trying to ignore? What part of you is ready to move, but keeps asking for permission from people who cannot feel what you feel? You don't owe anyone an explanation for your resonance. Let me say that again. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your resonance. You are not here to convince others of what your soul already confirmed. Here's what happens when you listen to that unshakable knowing. Life begins to reorganize itself around your vibration. Opportunities appear, old doors close without drama, people shift, paths open, and most importantly, you stop waiting for certainty, waiting for approval, waiting for the right time. Let me be clear, your future self doesn't need you to understand her. She needs you to trust her. Because that trust, that's the bridge. Let's go even deeper. Now we'll talk about what happens when your subconscious begins to reflect this new alignment, and why old patterns, beliefs, and identities can suddenly collapse without warning. We'll explore why that collapse isn't chaos, it's clearing, the subconscious mirror. When old patterns break abruptly, there's a moment in every transformation when things fall apart. Not because something went wrong, but because something deeper has been revealed. Suddenly, you no longer recognize yourself in the mirror of your past. The roles you played, the beliefs you defended, the identities you wore so tightly begin to dissolve. Not slowly, but all at once, like a costume slipping off mid-performance. And what's left behind is raw, unfamiliar, exposed, but true. It feels like something is breaking, but it's not destruction, it's release. You're not collapsing, you're shedding. This is what the subconscious does when you finally align with your future self. It stops protecting the old version. It stops repeating the old loops. And instead, it begins reflecting what your frequency has already chosen, even if your conscious mind hasn't caught up yet. Joe Dispenza calls this breaking the habit of being yourself. But that phrase barely captures the magnitude of what it feels like, because it's not just habits that break, it's attachments. You find yourself grieving what you thought you wanted. You feel strangely distant from people you once would have done anything for. You try to repeat an old behavior, and it just doesn't land. It feels off, hollow, foreign. This is not a sign of failure. This is a sign of frequency upgrade. Let me give you an image. Imagine standing in a house you've lived in your whole life. One morning you wake up and everything inside looks smaller. The furniture, the walls, even the light. It's not because the house changed, it's because you did. And you can't unsee what you've outgrown. That house is your old identity, and your soul is packing its bags. You're not going crazy. You're just not compatible with who you used to be. The ego will mourn this. It will resist. It will try to fix what doesn't need fixing because it doesn't yet understand that you're not broken. You're just vibrating out of an old timeline. The mind sees this as loss. The soul sees it as liberation. Pause now. Breathe deeply. Let your awareness rest on a pattern that's been collapsing in your life. Maybe it's a behavior you can't force anymore. Maybe it's a story that no longer makes sense. Maybe it's a relationship that's quietly dissolving without blame. Instead of clinging, ask, what is this collapse making space for? Because here's the truth. The void is not emptiness. It's preparation. It's the fertile space between identities where your new timeline begins to root. And if you've made it this far in the video, thank you, truly. That means something in you is shifting, integrating, remembering. We don't always have the words for these moments, but your presence here already speaks volumes. Take a moment. In the comments, share if you've ever felt this kind of sudden shift, where something inside you cracked open and never closed the same way again. Your story may be the mirror someone else needs right now. And if you haven't yet, consider subscribing to the channel and joining our growing community. We're walking this path together, and this is only the beginning. Let's continue. And now we'll explore how to respond to this energetic pull with clarity and intention. You'll receive a simple, powerful practice in 3 steps to help you align with your future self. Not someday, but starting now. A 3-step practice to respond to the pull. Once you begin feeling the pull from your future self, the most important thing you can do is respond. Not with urgency, not with pressure, but with presence. Because this isn't about doing more, it's about doing what resonates. The question is no longer what should I do, but what feels like alignment. And for that, you need a rhythm. A way to return to coherence when the world around you tries to pull you back into doubt. Here's a 3-step process that can help you tune into the signal, receive guidance, and respond with energy that matches who you're becoming, not who you used to be. Step 1. Silence and stillness. The first step is deceptively simple, but profoundly powerful. Take time, even just a few minutes, to enter stillness each day. Turn down the noise, not just the noise around you, but the mental noise within. Because your future self doesn't speak through chaos. She speaks through coherence. Close your eyes. Let your breath guide you into presence. Let silence be the space where intuition becomes audible. The knowing is already there. You're just creating space for it to surface. This is not about meditating for hours. It's about reclaiming 5 minutes of undisturbed alignment. Step 2, ask before sleep. As you drift towards sleep, you're closer to the subconscious field, closer to the quantum realm where timelines bleed into one another. Use this space wisely. Before you fall asleep, ask your future self a direct question. Don't beg, don't overthink, just ask with sincerity. Something like, what do I need to see right now? Where am I resisting my own expansion? What would you have me feel next? Then let go. Don't chase the answer. Let it come through dreams, synchronicities, or a quiet shift in how you feel when you wake. That subtle shift is the message. Step 3, micro-action in alignment. The next day, do one small thing that reflects who you're becoming. Not the whole transformation, just one act. Maybe it's speaking your truth in a space you used to stay silent. Maybe it's moving your body, shifting your environment, letting go of something symbolic. The key is movement, not perfection. Why does this matter? Because when you act in alignment, even in micro movements, you send a vibrational signal. I'm ready. That signal builds momentum, and that momentum becomes magnetic. But delayed action, that weakens the signal. Every time you feel the pull and do nothing, the signal fades. Not because you failed, but because energy without motion dissipates. And here's something most people don't realize. Ritual is not just spiritual, it's neurological. The more you repeat a frequency through small actions, the more your nervous system begins to trust that this new identity is safe to inhabit. That safety creates expansion, and that expansion invites more guidance. So take the step. Let it be quiet, let it be sacred, but take it, pause for a moment. What is one micro-action that your future self would smile at you for doing today? It doesn't have to be loud, it just has to be real. Let's keep moving. Let's go explore one of the most hidden obstacles on this path, the urge to understand everything before we allow ourselves to change. You'll see why the mind's need for certainty is often the very thing keeping you from stepping into the life that's already calling. The hidden obstacle. Wanting to understand everything first. There's a part of you, smart, careful, analytical, that wants to map the entire path before taking the first step. It wants to know why, how, when, and what if. It wants logic to validate intuition. It wants certainty before surrender. But here's the paradox. The version of you that needs to understand can't yet comprehend the version of you that already knows. You're trying to decode the future using the language of the past. And while your soul speaks in vibration, your mind demands explanation. Let me give you an example. Imagine standing at the edge of a river. You know, deep down that you need to cross. The current doesn't scare you. What scares you is not knowing what's on the other side. So you wait. You study the water, you plan, you ask others what they see, but only when you step in does the current begin to carry you. Only then does the other side begin to reveal itself. That first step, it doesn't come from knowing, it comes from resonance. Let me be clear, the need to understand everything is often just a disguised attempt to control the outcome, to minimize risk, to protect the identity that feels safe in limitation. But transformation doesn't happen through control. It happens through trust. Faith isn't belief without evidence. It's movement without full comprehension. It's what happens when your body says yes, even as your mind still trembles with what-ifs. And yes, this is uncomfortable, especially in a world that glorifies strategy, rewards certainty, and mistrusts the invisible. But your future self doesn't operate on your current level of logic. She operates on frequency. And every time you delay your shift in the name of figuring it out, you're asking a question that your current self isn't meant to answer. You've seen it before. You just didn't realize what it was. That moment when you hesitated, not because it wasn't right, but because it didn't make sense. That instinct you ignored, that opportunity you analyzed to death until it slipped away. Those are the places where logic drowned out vibration. Pause now. Breathe into this. What part of your life have you been holding hostage to your own overthinking? What decision have you delayed because it didn't fit into your mental model of what's supposed to happen? Here's what I invite you to feel. You don't need all the answers to take the next step. You just need resonance. And that resonance, it's already alive in your body. Let's go even further. We'll close this journey by anchoring the truth that your future self is not a fantasy or a dream. It's a frequency that's already alive and available. You'll see how to walk with that version of you now. Not someday, but today. Your future self is not a dream. It's a frequency. There's something you felt throughout this entire video. It's not an idea, not a theory. It's a vibration, a pull, a soft but steady remembrance that who you are becoming isn't a fantasy waiting in the distance. It's a reality vibrating beneath the surface, asking to be chosen now. The pull you feel, that quiet urgency, that subtle ache that something more is waiting for you. It's not your imagination, it's memory, a memory from the version of you who already made it, who already aligned, who already lives the life you keep glimpsing between breaths. And you don't need to chase her, you just need to stop resisting her. Every time you tune into your body instead of your mind, you align. Every time you trust the whisper instead of the shout, you align. Every time you act from resonance instead of fear, you arrive. So let me ask you something. What is one decision you've been delaying that your future self has already made? Feel it. Don't think. Feel, because the moment you choose what's already chosen, the illusion of waiting dissolves, and what once felt far away becomes undeniable. Here's the truth most people never hear. The more you answer the pull, the faster you arrive. Not by force, but by frequency. So thank you deeply for walking this far with me. Your presence here matters. Your energy, your attention, your willingness to sit in discomfort and clarity at once is what makes this real. Thank you for walking this path of remembrance with us. Thank you for showing up for yourself in this way. If this video stirred something inside you, if it made you pause, breathe, or feel seen, let us know in the comments. Share your reflection, your insight, your resonance. And if this journey felt aligned with where your soul is headed, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and continue with us on this path of transformation. Because this is just one step on a much deeper journey. And the next video waiting for you here on the Echoes of the Path might hold the very key your energy has been calling in. We'll meet again in the frequency that already knows. The reality begins where your old pattern ends. I'll see you on the other side.